Hi, it's Bob Christ, and I thought I'd take time to make a little video showing you the gear that I brought to photograph the barge assignment in the Loire Valley video I just put up last week. It was an assignment for French Country Waterways, a client that I've been lucky enough to work with over the years. But it has some special requirements and special needs for mobility and discretion. And so I thought I'd show you how a minimalist might go about this. The bag that I use most of the time for this kind of work is a Wandrd Sling Bag. This is the 6-liter one. I've also got a 9-liter that's a little roomier and actually would be better in most cases in what I would use usually, but I was trying to be discreet on this one, and I'll tell you why in a second. Whenever you're doing a story about a conveyance, a train trip, a boat trip, a barge trip, a horseback trip, a bicycle trip, you have to be able to get pictures from the conveyance on board the boat and of the boat, off the boat. And so it's kind of hard sometimes to work out the logistics. Now in this case, it's a slow-moving barge along a canal, so it wasn't all that hard to get out ahead of the barge, behind the barge, catch up with the barge. But sometimes when you're doing a train trip or a boat trip, it can be a real problem to get shots on board and of the boat from another boat or from the shore, because you usually got to be on it, otherwise they'll leave you behind. And the second consideration in this particular assignment was that there was only 8 passengers on the trip, and that included my wife Peggy and I. And you cannot inconvenience these folks, but you have to blend in, and you can't bother these people. They've paid a lot of money for this wonderful trip, so you have to be discreet, you have to blend in, you can't direct them, you can't do anything. You've got to catch as catch can. And so these are the two important caveats. This is not a shoot where they stop everything and they do things for you. No, you go on the trip and you shoot the trip as it unfolds. You try not to annoy your fellow passengers, you try to befriend them, and then that's the way it works. You start off with the heart of the kit, and that is my new go-to camera here, and that's the Sony A6700. I'm a crop sensor guy, getting older. I don't want to carry weight, I don't want to carry heavy lenses, but I want capability. So the A6700 really does the job for me, and you can see the mic that fell out of there is that little Sony mic. I'll list the model number. It's a long model number. It's a great mic because it's cordless. It's a terrible mic because the wind resistance is awful. Sony put all the money into developing a great microphone, and then I think they must have gone out into the street and given somebody $5 and said, here, design a dead cat wind cutter for this, because this cuts no wind. And it's really a shame about that, but it fits right in there. And the hot shoe, and you don't need any cords to connect it to your audio terminal, so it's very convenient to use. Now on this camera I have an 18 to 135, which in full frame speak is about a 27 to 200, and that covers me from everything, because again, as I mentioned, you cannot stop and have the barge go back and redo these things. You have to catch it as it happens. So for quick reframing as the barge is going by, a zoom lens is absolutely necessary. And also it's got to be sharp, it's got to be small. This has OSS, optical steady shot, in it, which pairs nicely with the in-body stabilization. The zoom lens doesn't fulfill all my needs, and for that I've got 2 primes, and I've glued 2 body caps together here, and so I can carry lenses back to back. And the 2 extra lenses I brought are the 11mm f1.8. It's high speed, ultra wide angle lens, equivalent of about a 15, I think. And that's for interiors, wine cellars, dining rooms, any chateau interiors. Having a fast ultra wide is very nice. And of course, when you use Sony's clear image zoom, you get like, it becomes like anywhere from an 11 to a 15. So it's very, very convenient range. And the other lens that I have is the, you know, the so-called Nifty 50, the 35mm f1.8 OSS. And this is for portraits, close-ups. It's a normal lens. It's the equivalent of a 50mm lens on a full-frame camera, rather. And then the other thing that was key to this is the old Osmo Pocket 3. This thing, I carry it in a eyeglass case. It's a metal magnetized eyeglass case, so I can actually keep the filters magnetized to the bottom there. I can't say enough about this camera. I don't have time to balance a gimbal. This thing will allow me to get nice shots while moving. As I said, I'm an older guy with bad knees, so as much as I've practiced my hero Brandon Lee's ninja walk, I have the more like the wounded buffalo walk. So I really need help with this. And the Osmo 3 was fantastic, and also fantastic low light. It's a 1-inch sensor, but my gosh, what they get out of this 1-inch sensor is amazing. Now, at times, I would put this on an extension pole to use it as a jib boom. And I'll show you that extension pole a little later. But that was key for one key shot as we were crossing this aqueduct bridge. I needed to show from an elevation the canal going over the river. And this little thing on a 10-foot pole was great. And I'll show you how I rigged that up in a second. But so these three lenses and the Osmo are basically what I'm using most of the time. Now, another nice thing about the three lenses is they're all 55mm in size, filter size, so I'm able to keep a set of 55mm variable NDs, polarizers, and single strength NDs. They all fit. Each one fits all three of the lenses. So there's no carrying an extra set, stop down rings, any of that kind of stuff. And all of these are magnetized. So if I want to put an ND filter on here, I just take the variable ND and I connect it there. The system I use is the K&F Kent Faith. They're very nice. Optically, they're very good. I wish the strength was a little stronger. I carry a spare because this is not easy to knock off, but it can get knocked off. So I wish it had a little more power, but optically it's excellent. And so I have no complaints. Here's a little bag of all the accoutrements for the Osmo Pocket. I've got the microphone in here, which is great for doing your stand-ups and any vlogging. But in here I've got all the wide-angle lens, the battery extender. I've got a little mini tripod. I've got all that, and that fits all in here. And that goes back in here. And then in the front little pocket, I've got some extra batteries and my SD cards and maybe a cleaning cloth. So that's about it. Now this monopod, let's take a break. I'm gonna clear off here and I'm gonna bring out the sticks that I travel with. So give me a minute, I'll be right back. Let's take a look at the tripods and monopods. I carried three items here. The first one is, unfortunately, I think this has been discontinued. You might be able to pick it up from Japan on eBay, but it's a VelbonUltra Stick Super 8. I have recently gone to these nesting leg type of arrangements because it can go from very short to very tall, and it's all nested in there. I was never fond of this kind of leg style because I don't know how dependable it is. I don't know really if it gets too dirty or sandy, how dependable it is. But I'm not doing too much rough work these days. I'm kind of retired. What I like is that it's this tiny and I have it with me at all times. So I don't always use it on the ground. In fact, I will often just stick it in my belt and put mount the camera on the top here, and that gives me some really, really nice steadiness, and I can lock it, stick it inside my belt, and with the camera strap I have 3 points of contact. Now the other tripod that I've just started using is another nested leg arrangement, and this is from Freewell. And the reason I like this tripod is that it travels, again, it falls down very small, but it goes to some height for me because I'm 6'1". So I want to have some height. This doesn't go to my eye level, but it goes close enough. I'm a little bit of a fanatic about tripods, so I have a lot of them, a lot of small lightweight ones. So I took this one on the trip to France because I knew I just needed something that was going to be small, discreet, fast, and this Freewell is certainly that one. And then the last thing in the kit is this. It's a 10-foot selfie pole from Insta360. Now what I've done here is I've put a little ball head on the end, and I've put a little clamp here with a phone clamp. And so when I extend it to 10 feet and I put my Osmo Pocket on it, I can see what I'm framing. And it was very, very important for a couple jib shots that we did that really added production value. This is a very useful thing. I brought an Insta360 X3 with me. The jury's out on that. Sometimes the footage looks great, and then sometimes it looks like hell, and I can't quite figure out what the problem is. I think an X4 with the added resolution would serve me well, but I'm not sure it's worth my investment. I just don't do that much 360 stuff. There's no doubt that sometimes when you want to get something that looks like a drone and you can't fly a drone, that's very useful. Now, speaking of drones, I did not take a drone on this assignment because I knew I wouldn't have time. Fortunately, the library that I subscribe to, which is Envato Elements, they had some nice aerial footage of a couple of the chateaus that we covered, so I was able to get a couple of drone images in there using some stock footage. That is a good thing about the ubiquity of drones out there. There's an awful lot of good drone stock footage. Ideally, I'd do it myself, but I knew we would be working very fast. These were tours, so there was no staying extra or whatever. I had to move with the crowd. So that's my little breakdown of what I used on this assignment in the Loire Valley in France. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. I'll get to them. I'll try to do more of these kind of behind the scene things because I know everybody seems to like that, and I have made a science of traveling light and small. Oh, I almost forgot. Backup. I like to carry backups for my main things. That's a holdover from my days as a National Geographic photographer. But we were gone for months at a time, often in remote places, so that was a necessity. But there is one camera I won't leave home without, and that's my trusty Sony RX100 7. And I've got a Sennheiser MKE 200 on here. This will block out almost any wind. And if it's a windy day and I need to get clean sound, I put the Sony away and I put this on. So here I've got a little cage on it. It's a 24-200. I've got a filter mounting system on the front so I can put my ND filters because RX100 7 does not have an ND filter. So, but if I dropped my main camera or whatever, I could shoot the whole assignment with this. It's just a remarkable camera, and I think more and more in the future I'll be depending on smaller cameras like this. For run and gun and everything, this camera is ideal. So that's it. There we go. That's just about everything. Thanks for watching, if you're still watching at this point, and I'll see you in the next one.